when it comes to Wonderfest, it's pretty much like Toy Fair, but for China. And a lot of like Chinese companies trying to make the rounds. And here we are after a couple of days, and it looks like the two main companies that's like you guys mentioned in the chat stole the show was in fact LPZZ slash UP Finegures and Inart. Mert Giller posted these, and then they were technically posted on I think Bilibili over in China, and so somebody reposted from there and reposted from there, and Mert Guler posted this on Facebook. LPZZ slash UP Find Yours Arkham City Batman. And we know that this is Arkham City Batman because he's got the much more rounded compartments on the side of his utility belt versus the much more square ones from Arkham Asylum. So this is the Arkham Arkham City Batman to complement the Arkham Knight that just recently got released. I know that this is technically a prototype, but man, it's already looking kind of fine because it's already got the cut articulation baked into it. Oh, and the gauntlets. If you look at the gauntlets, those are the Arkham City gauntlets versus the Arkham Asylum ones. But in terms of detail, the only thing I'm a little iffy on is the little bit of breaking on the paint. It looks like it's already been a little damaged in transit, so that I'm hoping that that's just a thing that happened to this specific prototype and it's not beholden to the rest of the mass-produced ones. But in terms of previs sort of concept for LPZZ making an Arkham City Batman, this is mostly it. I say mostly because the only thing, I don't know if he's on the other photos, he's not. This is more of a wide-angle photo before we get to this guy. So this is more so a wide-angle photo, but based on this photo, the only thing that could probably use a little bit of refinement is the head sculpt. The cowl itself looks pretty nice, but the expression and whatever's got going on a little bit on the face and on the mouth plate could probably use a little bit of work. It looks a little unfinished. But everything else, and including the cloth cape and what I can tell is probably a bit of a wire right there, pretty reminiscent of the wiring that we had in the cape for the Arkham Knight version. I'm definitely liking from what I'm seeing. And I guess I get pretty excited along with everybody else simply off the notion that their Arkham Knight Batman turned out so well that just the sheer confirmation of LPZZ saying, hey, we're making an Arkham City Batman 2 is enough for me to be like, bring it. Bring it, man. And like I said, to me, my favorite part is pretty much this whole torso part because of the bat symbol, the simplistic nature to the armor that was made by Rocksteady back in the day, and then the utility belt, and then of course you got the little bits of sculpted on top of the gauntlets, the knee pads, the shins. Again, wish we could see just a little bit more, and technically we can a little bit on this wide shot, which of course is also showing us next to, I'm guessing because of the base, is meant to be not Arkham Asylum or Arkham City Joker, but Arkham Knight Joker. If you look a little carefully, even though this is an unpainted and unarticulated prototype, simply just a proof of concept to kind of pitch the idea of what's to come, what's actually kind of in progress here is definitely the Rocksteady Arkham Joker, but the nameplate says Arkham Knight. And then on top of that, if you look at the little features on his face from what we can make out in this somewhat far away photo, he does have that slightly altered look that he had in Arkham Knight, where he didn't look exactly like he did in Arkham City or even in Arkham Asylum. In Arkham Asylum, he had like much more arched eyebrows and he had a much more maniacal look. They kind of softened him a little bit. There's something about his face. I can't put my finger on it, but they softened him up in Arkham Knight. I don't know if it's because of the engine or what other factors were at play, but it looks like that's what we got going on a little bit in the face. So this is technically Arkham Knight Joker. Gotta be honest, kind of wish that they were doing an actual proper to pair with, even though he's going to pair well with the Arkham Knight Batman, I still kind of wish that they would have done an Arkham Asylum Joker. Or a healthy Joker, quote-unquote healthy, from Arkham City. So to see that this is going to be probably the Arkham Knight version is a little bit of a bummer. Just a tiny bit. But I'm still excited. And then our first major clash here, BVS Batman from LPZZ, which we've already heard about. You know, we've already had those like teaser images and posted on social media from some of the designers. Mighty Edward, I keep wanting to say Eduardo, but Mighty Edward #1 over on social media. Shout out to him for posting some photos, kind of teasing that BVS Batfleck. But now shown off at Wonderfest. This image alone, I gotta be honest, from this angle, for a little while, I legit thought that this was a goddamn Hot Toys. But then I see the cuts in the joints, and I'm like, oh no. This is the 1/12th LPZZ. Guys, is this gonna be it? Or is Inart going to be able to compete? Before we move on from Batfleck, there was one other post, one other image, right here with an unpainted prototype, uncaped and unpainted prototype of Batfleck, next to that BVS / Justice League Batmobile, which is technically meant to be like a collaborative project with another company. I can't remember what the company is, but LPZZ / UPF Finegures is going to be involved. It is possibly going to be a little on the costly side, but if that quality that they put into their figures is also going to be pushed through their vehicles as well, not only am I stoked for what is arguably one of my lesser liked Batmobiles. I'm not the biggest fan of the Justice League BBS, but I'm eager to see what the quality is going to be at play for this being the first one that they're tackling. And one of the first things that I said when they revealed that they were going to be doing a BVS, or I should just say a Snyderverse Batmobile, was what else are they going to tackle in the future? Arkham, perhaps? There it is. Motherfucking Arkham Knight Batmobile from LPZZ in the 1/12 scale. And here I am over here looking at McFarlane like, guys, I've been saying this in a couple of live streams already for almost a better part of like 2, 3, maybe 4 months, which from a business standpoint is like, what, a quarter on that business, on that fiscal calendar? That's a lot of time to pass by without at least entertaining the notion of making a DC Multiverse, Arkham Knight Batmobile to pair with the Arkham Knight figure that you did a few years back and the recent Prestige Edition. And here's LPZZ saying, don't worry, we got you guys. Check it out. Unpainted prototype. Question is still out whether or not it's going to be able to transform into its tank mode. But just the fact that it's confirmed and existing, pretty nice. Again, if I had it my way, I would have liked it better if it was the Arkham Asylum original Batmobile, but as I mentioned time and time again, pragmatically, it makes much more sense to make the Arkham Knight Batmobile because it's the one that was featured mostly in its respective game. It's the most recent one, and I'm definitely part of a very, very brute minority when it comes to the Arkham Asylum Batmobile. But at the same time, never say never. So yeah, and it also means that we're not getting anything anywhere close to being finished with the Arkhamverse, because also coming down the pipeline from Arkham Knight is actually what is set to be the second release by LPZZ, which is probably just around the corner, which is, of course, Deathstroke, featured here at the front in this photo. But then in the back, you'll notice that, yes, there's that Catwoman, which we have seen unpainted maquettes of before, but this is the first, I believe, this is the first time that we get our fully painted, fully articulated Catwoman with both no goggles and the claws in 2 different stances. So we got those 2 stances right there. I don't know if it's going to be in these other photos, but I believe right here. A little bit on the blurry side, but you get the that crouched one right there, that one right there. She's a little bit in the background over here, but then when you get to these photos over yonder, there you go. She's even got a little bit of that bloody wound after getting captured by Riddler in her side quest. I do like that she's even got this buckle, which I recently noticed during my recent playthrough of Arkham Knight. So there you go. Liking the texture work. We know that LPZZ can nail that nice texture that you see realized in Rocksteady's design for Arkham Knight. So it looks like that's not going to be any different here on... oh, it looks like we're going with like a... looks like there's a bit of a separation between the hair and the head, which means that that's probably how you're going to be able to move the goggles about to then get this effect on this head over here. And naturally, hold on. Let me go a little forward here because more stuff from Arkham Knight. We're going to get the Arkham Knight himself, which I got to be honest, just like with the BVS Batfleck, this is another one where if I didn't pay attention to the cuts and the articulation, this borderlines looks like a Hot Toys. And again, it could just simply be the angle, like this right here. If it wasn't for the base of the arm, and then this angle right here almost looks like the Hot Toys. But then I see the arm that's holding it up, and then the little cuts of articulation that are very well hidden with a figure like this because he's so armorized that hiding the articulation is going to be excellent. Like this, look at this. I can't wait for the day where I get this in hand and I put it next to the Mark McFarlane. That's going to hurt. I can tell you that, guys, right now. That's going to hurt. It's going to hurt a little bit. But it looks like LPZZ is going to take advantage to make multiple iterations of, well, maybe not multiple, because it looks like these two are the same figure, only differently painted and differently articulated, where you're going to have his Red Hood look from the very, 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 very end of the game, very end of Arkham Knight, and then his unmasked look, which I'm hoping is simply just the previous figure, but just with a different head sculpt that has him half masked to show off his face. Because it looks like they're leaning heavily into that. From the look of it, like I said, I think these two look like they're the same figure. Kind of, maybe. Some of the pads look a little bit different. But at the same time, he's got the regular helmet here. And when he looks like Red Hood, it's in the DLC, and by then he's got the jacket with the hood. So that wouldn't make sense. So that doesn't really look what's going on right here. So, yeah, it looks like they're very much leaning into the Arkham stuff for a good while. And there's that, and then we circle. And then I guess before we move on, since he's kind of in isolation here, they're doing a Pattinson Batman as well. Now, full confession, possible hot take, I think this is probably the only thing that LPZZ showed off where I think maybe the Inart might be better. Difficult to say off of these preliminary photos. Again, could end up eating my words later, but there's something Mafexy / Mesco-y about the LPZZ Pattinson versus the Inart. And I think that's a little bit of an advantage that Inart has over LPZZ, because Inart technically already did Pattinson in the 1/6 scale. So all they had to do is just take everything that they learned from that and shrink it down. And that's probably what they did. That's probably what their strategy was. And this has been confirmed before, but they've shown this up before at a previous event. But LPZZ is going to be tackling the Hush series, specifically for Batman and Superman from that comic, the Batman Hush. So they're going to be doing a Batman Hush Batman with the blue, and this is simply just the early prototype, but you can already tell the shade of blue that they're going for from this cape alone. And it's very much comic based. We already got some articulation baked into the maquette, but it's going to be comic, so it's going to be a little bit cleaner and simpler on the design. But if that detail and that quality of plastic is up to par, like somebody else in the comment section said here, game over for Mafex. I would not be terribly surprised. They're also doing a Red Death from Dark Knight's Metal because, like I mentioned time and time again, Dark Knight's Metal is like the most cheapest thing to license out, apparently, for action figure companies, especially the ones overseas. Inart's doing him as well. And speaking of Inart, already up for pre-order, unlike Inart, LPZZ slash UPF, Batman Who Laughs. I already put down my pre-order for him over at Toys Metaverse. So he already went up for pre-order. He's already available with like full product photos. I imagine he's number 3 after Deathstroke. I could be wrong, but I think he's with the type of photos that they're released, like the type of product photos, I'm banking that he is next. Oh my god, I did not see this. Holy is this the Batman Beyond suit from Arkham Knight? Are they doing that too? Jesus. Is that what this is? Look at this. Because I'm looking at that, yeah, I'm looking at the symbol and I'm looking at the utility belt and now, of course, the covered up mask. That's the Batman Wow. They're doing that too? Before I forget, we're also getting Arkham Origins. Guys. Also from LPZZ. Arkham Origins. McFarlane! Where you at, buddy? We've been saying we need an Arkham Origins Batman to go with that Deathstroke that was released quite literally like 3 or 4 years ago. We still need an Arkham Origins Batman. And guess who, like I've been, forecasting for the past few months, you're going to have all of these companies overseas, LPZZ, Inart, maybe Mayfex, maybe Figure Arts, maybe Fonjoy, finally looking at the comments saying, telling people that have access to Instagram, YouTube, going into those videos, going into the comments saying, what are people demanding for? Oh, Arkham Origins Batman? All right, then let's make it. Here's LPZZ doing it. Come on, man. Come on. Anyways, the figure that I was trying to use as a segue to not only show off for LPZZ as like the last LPZZ thing, but also kind of connects us to Inart, is that we're finally getting a version of some kind of absolute Batman. And there he is. Now, this is the LPZZ version, and it's simply just an unpainted maquette, but I love the fact that they opted for a pose complete with the little like tendril things, based off of his look from the cover of Absolute Batman #1. So just the sheer fact that it's Absolute Batman #1 replicated here in the 112 format, and based on the little bits of the armor and the suit and the physicality, this is going to be a chunky boy. But just imagine this articulated with that same kind of quality that we know LPZZ has been able to deliver with their one figure, which is the Arkham Knight Batman. And I'm like, bro, and just the fact that at least one of these companies is confirming to us, like, yeah, we're making it. But it's not, it was crazy that it wasn't just one company. It's actually 2. Inart also came in with a good amount of things to show at Wonderfest Shanghai 2025 with their own set of things, including their own Absolute Batman. Now, theirs was put in a different pose. I want to say this. It's difficult to make out whether or not it's articulated. It looks like it's hiding some joints. I think it is articulated, this particular maquette. Now, it's definitely riffing off of Absolute Batman. And I personally have not read Absolute Batman. I do have Absolute Batman #1 right over there, but I haven't actually read too many issues into the series. So, without going into spoilers, guys, can any of you tell me, does his suit sort of change a little bit? Because what he's got going on in this version of the Inart is a little bit different than what was shown at the LPZZ. I don't know if this subreddit post is gonna have. Anyways, the point I was trying to make a little bit earlier is that the Absolute Batman that Inart is tackling here, this is obviously the Absolute Batman, but his suit looks a little bit different. Like the bat symbol looks a little bit extra armorized. There's extra spikes on the shoulders, on the gauntlets, on the straps. Obviously, you got the weapons right there, and then of course the extra tactical gear here and the sheer honkiness to the suit. But it definitely looks a little altered, a little changed up than what he either looks like in that first comic issue, that cover, or what LPCC is generating over there with that specific maquette that they got going on over there. Going back to Inart, despite the liberties that they may or may not be taking with that Absolute Batman, You guys earlier said that you gasped at the Arkham Knight Batmobile from LPZZ. I did too, but when it came to Inart, out of everything that they showed, I kind of gasped at the Dark Knight Returns figure that they showed off here. Because it's fully painted, articulated, even though I'm still knowing that it's a prototype and it's probably going to be a ways off, probably like maybe spring-ish time of next year. But the texture work that I'm seeing, like this looks like a legitimate, one of those like statues, like from Prime statue from 3.0, but then shrunken down to 1/12 and then made into a figure. To give Inart a little bit of credit here. And I'm pretty certain LPZZ is probably going to make one, but they didn't show one off at, from what I remember, at this Wonderfest event. And this is probably one of the few things combined with Alex Ross Kingdom Come Superman here. Or, well, actually, I take that back. It's not Kingdom Come Superman. It's just Alex Ross Superman because he's only got the regular symbol. He doesn't have that angular one that they kind of lifted to use for the James Gunn Superman. It's not that one. It's just Alex Ross designed. Fully Alex Ross designed because of not only the look of the suit and the look of the head sculpt, but my man is packing. Just like this gif. Jesus Christ. Some people, however, have contested the fact that the suit has a texture going on it. Because when you think of Alex Ross's Batman and Superman designs, the suits never look textured. They just look like spandex just stretching over the skin. So that's probably another liberty that Inart is taking to kind of showcase their technology, their texture technology. But just the fact that they're tackling some of the stuff on the comics or some stuff that's just from artist focus, like the Alex Ross here, it's something. It's still something to kind of take a look. But of course, Inart is most definitely not going to be letting go of the Dark Knight trilogy anytime soon. We're getting a 1/12 Joker. And I gotta be honest, I feel like out of everything that they showed off here, 1/12 Joker will probably be coming a little sooner and maybe a little bit better than anything that LPZZ might be working on. There was no Heath Ledger Joker shown off by LPZZ, only by Inart. But I feel like Inart might have a leg up because much like what I said about Pattinson Batman, they've already tackled their own Ledger Joker in 1/6 scale, so all they have to do is just shrink it down. You know, consider the hurdles of shrinking down the cloth coat like they're doing here, which cool to see that's going to have felt goods, the articulation, the likeness, and just bring all the sensibilities that they learned from making the 1/6 scale, like the rooted hair and all that stuff, and bring it into 1/12. I don't expect rooted hair with the 1/12. It'll be too cumbersome, and I wouldn't want to really like manage it every time that I futz with it. I'd rather have sculpted in 1/12. But like I said before, they're practices, and they kind of already tackled this before, so they just have to shrink it down. What they haven't tackled before is the Bane. So the Dark Knight trilogy is going to keep on trucking in 1/12 format with a Bane. This looks semi-articulated. It doesn't look like it's actually movable joints, but they kind of like sculpted them anyway just to show that, hey, honestly, this is kind of smart because I think they did this on purpose to confirm like, hey, in 1/6, it makes sense to do like silicone arms to cover up those joints. We're not doing that shit in 1/12. And I think that this is what this is doing. This is confirming that they're not going to be doing silicone bodies on 1/12. That's too small, too like, you know, it's going to be a hassle. And I'm like, all right, that makes total sense. And I'm fine with it. Just make sure that you iron out the detail. Looks lifelike, looks premium, feels premium, and we'll be good. Just like with Christian Bale Batman. Because even though all of us were really stoked at what LPZZ is doing, we also shouldn't really discredit too much Inart, because even though Inart has only had one release so far, it was a fucking 9 out of 10 release. It was. I'm still keeping them in the game. Have they won the game? No. But they're still playing. So whatever their second 1/12 release is going to be, that's definitely one to really scrutinize. Which right now, I'm starting to get the feeling it's going to be Catwoman. Because there's rumors going around that sometime this month, pre-orders for the 112 Dark Knight Rises Catwoman are going to go live. And if they are, then I can only assume that that's their way of saying she's next on 112th. Apart from the Wukong stuff. I'm talking about licensed, Batman stuff. Especially when it comes to the Nolanverse, or I guess in this case, the Snyderverse with the Gal Gadot 112th. Similar to what I mentioned about Joker and about Pattinson Batman, this is another one that they, I think, feel pretty confident on because they've already done. They're currently working on the 1/6 scale version, so they're probably like, hey, let's take some of our team and start R&Ding a 112 version. That's pretty much what we got going on right here. 112 Arkham Origins figures. So we technically have seen Arkham Origins Batman from Inart before at 2 prior events. One of which one of which I did go to last year. Not this year's. Arkham Origins Batman was not present at this year. But last year's San Diego event, I went and they had the Arkham Origins Batman. They brought him back here again. From what I can tell, it looks like they cleaned up the suit. It looks much more fine, like HD-ish, like much more vibrant. I'm not sure that I like it better. Like, it looks like a very, very clean version of the suit, but the whole point of the Arkham Origins suit is that it has this weathered, like, okay, this guy, Batman is only 2 years, I think only 2 years into his tenure as Batman in that game, and therefore he's going to take much more bumps and bruises. He's a little more inexperienced, so that suit's going to be much more weathered and less cleanly. So the fact that they cleaned it up, I'm not sure I'm, like, on board with that. Deathstroke looks a little bit cleaner as well from Inart. I like the head sculpt, although it's kind of leaning towards a bit of a Joe Manganiello, whatever his last name is, which is funny because that's who was set to play the character in the Snyderverse before that all got axed. But they don't look bad. I just feel like we would have preferred a much more weathered look to those versions. And then something that we did see earlier this year at the San Diego event that I attended was BVS, Batman, and Superman themselves. Only this time, to give us kind of a glimpse of the progress that is undergoing, we now have articulated versions of those figures. So we have actual articulated cuts baked into the models of both BVS, Batman, and Superman. So now we have a much broader look of how the articulation is going to look like. If it feels just as good as the Bale Batman, we're in good hands. It looks like they did a better job masking it slightly on the Batfleck, except for the torso. It's making him look just a little bit pudgy on the stomach. It's like it's protruding ever so slightly, but this is all pretty much what I was kind of expecting to happen with the body itself. Cavill looks a little leaner, just like the maquette. So I kind of wish that he does look a little bit more defined as far as the musculature, especially around the abdomen area because of this mid-torso cut. The head does look like it lost a little bit of the likeness. It's a little difficult to tell from some of these photos. I don't know if any of the other photos are going to get a little closer. There were some other, like I said, it gets difficult to track, but there were some photos. I think this is LPZZ. Let me see if I can find the, oh, here we go. I remember I followed the official Inart 112th subreddit. So let me see if this gives me better close-ups. So here's a really nice close-up of the BVS Batfleck with a little bit of that facial hair. Honestly looks really good. Really, really good. But it's Cavill that I'm like I can tell that they're trying to emulate Cavill, but I gotta be honest, I think I like his look back during Comic-Con a little bit better. I feel like they lost a little bit here on the brow. Like, I don't know what it is, but something in the brow is a little lost. Everything else looks nice, but it's a little bit on the brow. Could just be me. Like I said, that Catwoman, which, again, right here is showing up fully painted and articulated, which kind of lends a little bit to the possibility that it's probably going to be the next one up for release, for pre-order and release. And these are some of the blurrier stuff. So going back to this post right here, there's that Pattinson Batman, which, like I mentioned before, I think this is probably one of the few, right now, subject to change, but right now, I'm feeling like maybe Inart might make the better 112 Pattinson Batman versus LPZZ. The LPZZ doesn't look bad, but it's looking a little Mayfix-ish. Now, David, why don't you put them side to side? We'll get to that. Once I am done with this carousel, there's a couple of other posts where they put the figures right next to each other. So we'll come back to that. We're getting what almost looks like an Infinite Frontiers Joker or a Hush. I don't think it's a Hush Joker. It almost looks like an Infinite Frontiers Joker, but I could be wrong. But basically a very comic-based Joker, similar to how they're tackling some of the comic stuff with like the Alex Ross Superman, the Dark Knight Returns Batman, or I think somewhere in here. Let me see if I could find it. Oh, here we go. Singular photo, but we're getting a White Knight Batman from Inart. Again, we're going for that textured look, but I do like how definitive the beard, the hair sculpt, and then that symbol right there. So again, looking at McFarlane, even though I think it's too late for McFarlane to do any kind of like 2.0 with that, but yeah, I do like that Inart is kind of expanding their horizons besides just the movies. They're tackling very comic heavy stuff, and if it looks cool, we will buy it. Just make sure that that quality is up to par, and you guys could have a winner. So let me just, like I said, finish off this carousel here. But like I said before, Pattinson Batman is the only one that I like that weathered kind of look to it, and I think the face sculpt here, I think looks a little bit better than the LPZZ. I gotta be honest, I don't know what this is. I know it's Superman related, but I can't remember what this character is. But Inart's making him. And then you can vaguely make it out in the background. There's the Green Lantern Corrupt Batman and the Batman Who Laughs, which have been shown before at previous events. Recently, at the San Diego Inart event, they revealed that they are making a 112th Arkham Origins XC suit or Extreme Environment suit Batman, where he's going up against Mr. Freeze. This time, though, he's posed differently. He's articulated. Still unpainted, though, but cool ice effects encompassing the arm and the foot there. So that's pretty cool. So real quick, before we wrap things up, I do want to show off some side-to-side imagery to compare the stuff that was tackled by both companies. So I got this Facebook post that did show off some of the movie stuff, mainly the movie stuff. So here we have LPZZ versus Inart regarding the Dark Knight Rises Catwoman. I believe this is Inart, this is LPZZ. Again, very difficult to tell from the photos. I think maybe this is another one that Inart might have it. I think the face sculpt or the face likeness on that sculpt is a little better, and I think her physique is a little better. I think she looks a little too thick here in the middle, which, you know, I like my thick women. But is it technically screen accurate? Not really. I think the proportions just look a little strange here for the LPZZ, whereas the Inart gets, you know, she had a slimmer physique in that movie, so I think Inart maybe nailed it a little better. I am noticing one comment that someone's mentioning here. Is the LPZZ gonna have rooted hair on 112th? Bro. LPZZ is like, yeah, but got the hair though. God damn it. It's actually a pretty good case. Yeah, here you go. I think that is hair, guys. God damn it. And then, okay, here we go. At least we got Inart, LPZZ. Inart doesn't look bad, but I'm not going to lie. I think LPZZ might be a little better. It might be a little better. Someone said, and the winner is McFarlane. And who knows? It could be the lighting, but although somebody did point out that Inart is doing a little bit of a better job hiding the joints. They're using the little bits of the lines on the suit to hide the joints, whereas LPZZ is a little bit more obvious with them. But if functionality, posability, and just sheer playability of the figure is better on that one, then just let it be. Let that one be better. And yeah, see, here you go. I don't know what it is, but I honestly have to give Inart this one. LPZZ's looks a little Mayfixy. Not inherently bad, but if we are to pick one, I think I might have to give it to Inart. Okay, and that's it. I think I might have to look up another post that compares the two, because I think it's a little unfair that this one technically only had 3 pictures, because the first 2 were all Catwoman. Oh, I'm wrong. Not kind of wrong, kind of not. At the event, Inart did show off the. I mentioned Green Lantern and Batman Who Laughs. They were there. I knew that. I did not know that Devastator was there too. So they did bring back Devastator. Where he at though? Because like I said, he was at the event last year, and it is taking a while. And I think that. Oh, and then Red Death also. LPZZ is also going to be doing a Red Death. You guys saw that in the photo. That's another one to possibly compared to. Yeah, so right here, the Pattinson here actually doesn't look bad, except maybe his head looks a little too big. But it's once you get to this version, although I think it's unpainted, so that's not 100% fair. But the head, it just looks a little Mayfixy to me. Ooh, some better close-ups. Too bad. Bones. There's that J on Jason. Yeah, so I wish I could have found some more comparisons there between the two. Those were the main ones that people were comparing to, but they're also doing a Red Death, Absolute Batman, but of course those were like prototypes. So how many like loans are we gonna have to pull out for all these figures? Probably come next year, because Jesus Christ. Oh man.